Hello everybody, welcome back to another reading. Today we're taking a look at the case of Zigmund Adamski, who lived in the UK in a place called Tingley. On the 6th of June in 1980, he left to go and get some groceries, and he would have to walk for about a mile down the road. He did not return on that day, and he would not be found again until the 11th of June, almost a week later, and when he was discovered on top of a large coal pile. And it was about 12 feet high from the description, and it didn't look like anybody had walked up there. They themselves didn't look like they'd walked up the hill either, because they weren't dirty, and also the hill didn't show any signs of people dragging somebody up the coal pile. It's quite a way up, 12 feet, so you would have to see some indentation, so that was already quite strange. Now, he was obviously no longer alive at that point. He looked as though he had been about a day before, or at least according to the coroner, he must have died sometime between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. I believe that day. So he had been alive that morning according to the coroner's report anyway. He was not dressed properly. It looked as though somebody else had put his clothes back on him in a hurry, and he was missing his shirt. He was wearing like a jacket with no shirt under that, and it was buttoned up incorrectly. His shoes were done up strangely, and his pants were done incorrectly. So like somebody had to dress him in a hurry and didn't quite know how to do that for somebody else. That's kind of what it looked like. Aside from that, they found burns on his neck and his shoulders, which were covered in a yellowish-greenish gel-like substance, and they weren't able to identify what that was. So nobody had seen him being dropped off on that pile, which made a lot of people suspect that there were perhaps extraterrestrials involved, because it also didn't look like anybody had walked up the coal pile, like I said earlier. So how did he get up there, other than having been dropped from above, perhaps? The burns and the strange substance covering the gel also pointed in that direction, and as well as the location, because it was found in Todmorden, which is apparently a hotspot for UFO activity. So the person who worked there at that coal place had actually had some experiences himself as well. Sometime before that, he had actually driven around, I think it was in the evening, and he saw what he thought was an upturned double-decker bus, and he thought, oh, there must be like a shift bus or something for coal miners that flipped over or something. I better go take a look. But as he approached, he saw that it was actually not a bus, and it was also not on the ground. It was about 6 feet off the ground. He stopped to make a sketch, and then when he looked down and looked back up again, he was some way down the road. It was also much later than he remembered it being. So that was also a strange experience, and he's not alone in that. There's a lot of people in the area that have had weird experiences during that time as well. Apparently the late 70s was a hotspot for UFO activity in that area, so people think that that might be the case. So that's one thing that might be an option, but another option could be that it's just a family-related incident, because his goddaughter was supposed to have a wedding shortly after, and the husband of the cousin that was staying with him did not like that, or didn't like Zigmund's involvement in the wedding. Might have been jealous or something of his role to play in that wedding, and may have planned something, because it looked as though he had, this he would be Zigmund, had been shaven, etc. until that very morning. And he also had appeared to have been eating properly. There were some small cuts in his hands and his knees, and I think a small cut in one of his thighs, and that was all they could find on him. The conclusion was that he died of a heart attack, and according to the person who found him and also the coroner, his facial expression showed that he had been in great pain just before he passed away. So whether it was aliens or the husband of the cousin or somebody related to them, or perhaps hired by them, we don't know. So that is why we're taking a look at this case with the tarot today, and we're going to start off with the angel deck, which is already on the table, like these types of cards. And for any further questions, we'll move on to the vice versa tarot deck, which is the one with the different sides to every story, so to speak. So as per usual, I'm just going to start shuffling the cards. As soon as I have enough cards on the table, we'll take a look what we've got. So without much further ado, let's get started. Okay, so we got a lot of reverse cards, and I'm also seeing quite a trend here with not being able to walk away, losing a lot of harmony. Let's just start here at the top left. I'm gonna go up to the 8 of Cups here, so I'm gonna grab all these 4 because I feel like they are connected, all 4 of these. Ultimately they're all connected, of course, but I mean like this connection. It started off with these two. We had the Empress and the 9 of Pentacles in reverse. Now the Empress in reverse is somebody who stops caring, who is careless, who could care less about you, so to speak. And next to that we found the Lovers. Now the 8 of Pentacles, I think in this case, is almost like I don't care what it costs. And it might actually be a very big price to pay, but I really don't like some type of connection with somebody, something along those lines. Like we have the Lovers here, and it's in reverse. We have the volcano in the background bursting open, and there is like an angel in the sky or in the clouds there, as you can see, or somebody with wings over there that would normally guard over the union. But I think this is more somebody wanting to drive them apart, perhaps. And then there was the 8 of Cups, and oops, sorry, I'm way over here. So the Lovers were being driven apart, perhaps by somebody who may have been represented by the Empress over here, who did not appreciate their connection. And we have the 8 of Cups here with somebody looking up the sky, perhaps looking for alternatives, but it's in reverse. So I feel like whoever this Empress is, who's being represented by that, either did not see any other options or did not want to see any other options. They wanted to walk away from this, or perhaps one of the Lovers is the Empress in this case, that they wanted to walk away from this, and perhaps they saw no other way than to cause major drama, so to speak. Because next we have the King of Swords in reverse. I'm going to grab that one too with the other cards right next to it. So here comes the King of Swords. Now the King of Swords has the, I'm guessing, power of life and death in front of him because the child is right there. We've seen this one in a previous reading where also somebody else was deciding to make a very rash decision. Swords, of course, representing communication, thoughts, words, and this person may have been planning something. This is perhaps a different person from the Empress person. Perhaps somebody who is on their team made this decision to just end harmony right there, because we have death here and the 10 of Cups in reverse. So they were not looking to keep the peace, so to speak. So perhaps they planned something, manipulated people perhaps around them as well, because the reversed King of Swords is very good at twisting words and perhaps getting people to sign up for things that they may otherwise not have wanted to sign up for in order to make this death occur. And this death in the card is more end of a chapter death than literal death. So they were really looking to disrupt the harmony there with their plan, and they were very cold and meticulous about it, which is represented by the King of Swords, who is very cold and calculated. So these look like two people already looking to cause some trouble. Could be either one of the Lovers here, or it could be somebody who is connected to the Lovers who does not appreciate this union, or at least has some issues with it. Perhaps they felt like they would be connected to somebody who was going to ruin them after this union, like they needed to break this up so that they could walk away still, because in this case they don't feel like they have that option, like they're just trapped because somebody else wants to be in a union that they do not approve of. Next line we see the 7 of Pentacles, which normally is produce growing on a vine, so something that you've planned for. In this case we see people actually smelting a bunch of pentacles here. That really looks like a plan is in the works. They're working very hard. It's not quite 8 of Pentacles energy, but still they've got plans and things are rolling. There is a group of people together for this, because we have the 3 cups here, which is a connection. We have 3 people lined up as well, which might be 1 cup each. So we have the 3 of cups. Let me grab that one. We also have the King of Wands here, which is somebody who tends to be very actionable. We have the Queen of Swords. Okay, so more swords energy here. And lastly, we have the Hierophant in reverse. Now, the Hierophant is somebody who may be well respected in their community. It could be somebody in a position of power. It looks as though this king and queen couple were in cahoots with them, and maybe that there is somebody, perhaps even from local government or something, who was willing to look the other way in certain parts of their plan so that things would not be traced back to them or something. This really looks like a group of people coming together to sort things out. I am also drawn to look at this circle of birds down here and 3 people above it. It's kind of like the 3 conspirators in this case were so far above everybody else that the rest of them couldn't even hope to be on that level. They were just untouchable in that sense. And since they're so far removed from daily reality down there, it's almost like they may have thought that they were absolutely in the right in this, like mandate of heaven type stuff. They really felt like they were in the right and that nobody was going to perhaps do otherwise if they were in their same situation or something. So there might be a group of people here who really feel like they did the right thing. Then we have 2 cards over here. This is the Knave of Wands or the Page of Wands, and we have here the Knight of Cups in reverse. So Knave of Wands is somebody who is fairly rash, has a long list with him as well. Haven't seen that before. So even though they're normally very rash, the list makes me feel like there was somebody there who gave him a list of things to do. As you can see, they've got a list that is held at his side and it's unfurled all the way to the ground. So there's like a long list of you should do this, you should do that. Or maybe a whole long list like a plan, like make sure to go there at that time, etc. Because it reminds me of the fact that that coal place was actually locked. So they shouldn't have been able to just walk in there and casually drag a corpse over to the top of the pile. So maybe something suspicious going on there. We also have here a Knight of Cups in reverse. Now the Knight of Cups is normally somebody who is very much focused on their own emotions. And it could be in this case so much so self-focused that they didn't even really stop to think about what other people might think of their plan. I do believe these 2 are different individuals. So Knave of Wands might be the person who is actually the one carrying out the action, and then we have the Knight of Cups over there to wallow in his own misery and lament whatever might be negatively affecting them, but not Zigmund in this case, because I'm actually seeing a severe lack of Zigmund himself in all of this. You'd think that you would see the representation of the person involved somewhere in the reading, but all of this is perpetrator, it seems. The only thing that kind of made me feel like Zigmund was involved or is represented in this reading at all is partially the 8 of Cups here, because of course they were not given an option. They were not able to walk away from that. They did walk away from their house on the 6th, but that was not intended to be permanent. He just wanted to go get some things and then come back. So it seems as though all of this was planned outside of his knowledge, and he definitely did not consent to any of that. And let's see if we can find any more answers. So far we have a bunch of people looking to prevent something being very bad for them. Pulling a bunch of strings as well. This one's flipped. We have the 7 of Swords in reverse. Okay, so this is manipulation. I think afterwards, after the fact, to try and keep everybody calm and quiet, because I don't think anybody has been officially accused, even when people were like, hey, but that husband of that cousin, that one might be suspicious. That one I don't think was ever accused or questioned or anything, arrested either. So I'm thinking that there's quite a lot of manipulation going on to keep it like that, because this thief is just able to walk away even though there are guards standing there posted on either side. Can you see them? On either side there's like a guard standing there, or at least maybe suit of armor or something. It almost seems like letting sleeping dogs lie, like as long as you don't try to touch the armor suits, you won't find out that they're actually empty and there's nothing in there. And as long as you don't do anything serious, they will not come for you. So at least serious, something that would seriously bother them, not necessarily other people, because it is an encampment that is for elites only. If you see these knights, they're pretty expensive. They were really expensive back in the day because it was all handmade, obviously, usually custom made. So it's kind of like this little encampment that this thief is sneaking away from is an elite encampment, and everybody else who is not part of that rank is being kept out. And I feel that's important to note because once again we are looking at perhaps people who are in the clouds, so they don't really feel like they're on the same level as other people, and therefore as long as you don't bother them and their party, you should be fine. And the person that is manipulating people to keep them off their track appears to just be doing all the right things to not alert the people that would otherwise get upset. So let's see what else we can find. This one flips. This is the magician. Oh, and these two as well. Okay, so we have the magician, and this one is unable to do anything. I said magician, but actually it's the wheel. This looks like the magician is behind the wheel, which could mean that they're influencing the whole turn of events. But if you turn it around, then it is indeed the wheel as we know it. Slightly different, obviously, but still. So we get a reversed wheel with the magician behind it, who appears to be keeping these people at bay, like keeping the turning of the wheel out of sight or guarding it from other people. It looks as though we do have a lot of concern and worry here. Somebody is being very anxious. Also, they're kind of locked away from certain things because the swords are right in front of him. I don't think he can actually walk away from the bed without cutting himself. Maybe somebody who was involved is anxious now and currently of two minds, because we do see here the person sitting on a rock staring at the moon with two swords, with the Two of Swords itself. Normally the Two of Swords, you see the front like this with the tumultuous ocean in the background, and they look like they're just trying to make up their mind. But in reverse like this, it looks as though they're trying to make up their mind if they should or shouldn't reveal a secret, because it does appear to be hurting them mentally. So I feel like this is perhaps the page that we saw earlier here, who the person who actually did a thing, or somebody else involved in this lineup, although this lineup over here does not look like it contains any people that would doubt about their actions afterwards. So it might be the page in this case, and this will be the person who ordered it initially. So I think the page is being represented here by these two cards. We are seeing people being forced to look the other way with these two right here, but somebody is very anxious and trying to make up their mind if they should speak up or not about this secret, because of course the moon is usually about secrets and whether or not they're being kept. Let's see what else we can find. These two flipped. We have the Empress back, and we have the Page of Swords. Okay, so the Empress is up right over here. Might be a reference to the Empress who we saw at the start of the reading. Maybe that same person is in the life of the Page of Wands, and they are trying to get them to not make the wrong decision from their point of view anyway, by talking up storm towards them, because you see here the Page of Swords is actually facing the other way. They might be all over the place with their thoughts and words, because they are flying across the mountains, as you can see. But it might not be the right type of thing to say to the Page of Wands, because they aren't even really looking at them, it looks. So I'm going to put this one down, because of course the Empress here isn't even really looking at us. So they might be making an assumption about the person that they're talking to, and just talking to that thought that they have, like the image they have of the person rather than the person themselves. Sometimes you encounter somebody who does not see you, but sees whatever it is that they're projecting on you, and then they react to you as though you were that projection, but that doesn't land with you, because of course that is not you, so they might as well be talking to a wall. That's the kind of energy that I'm getting here. Like, they're trying very hard to convince probably the Page of Wands in this case to see things their way, but they're not very effective because they're not saying the right things to match with that person. Anything else we can see? Okay. So there's a new initiative somewhere, and it looks as though it's going to cause a lot of trouble. As you can see with this Ace of Wands, there is a lightning strike hitting the tree in the background, and it's a fairly big tree in the background, something that stands out quite a lot. Which makes me feel like it is, again, the Page of Wands who's going to call down some type of wrath, maybe even, like maybe strike very carefully. It's an initiative that is very precise, very accurate perhaps, that might end up accusing the exact right person who should be brought to justice maybe, or they're going to try to strike out against the people that they feel have done them wrong, I think. And since it is one of the biggest trees there, that's probably why it's being struck in the first place, because it's such a public figure, somebody who stands out, some institution perhaps who stands out. Let's see what else we can find about that. Will we ever find out who did this to Zigmund? So we get the Ten of Swords, which is a Darkest Before Dawn card. However, we're looking at an empty suit of armor that's been stabbed repeatedly, and I think the person who used to wear it is just sitting there looking at it. We do see a eclipse in the sky as well. It's a fairly unusual situation. I think it kind of represents the fact that he cannot let go of what happened. I think it's more something that kind of warps their sense of reality, because this looks like the same person on the Nine of Swords right there. Now the Ten of Swords, of course, is the continuation of the sword suit, so the next step for the person who's currently experiencing this Knight of Sword energy is to really look at what was happening, look at what was done. It's been weighing on her mind for a long time as well, I think. So I think that this is more something that has become too heavy for him to bear. It's a lot of dead weight that's weighing on his mind, and I think the swords being a communication and thought suit as well, it's something that really occupies his thoughts a lot, maybe also his dreams, because this does look like a very dreamlike landscape, so I think he might be having nightmares, and he just wants to be done, I think, is the message of this card. Final cards, maybe? Okay, this looks like the Lovers are back, and we have the Two of Wands. Okay, so he wants to move on with the Two of Wands, and maybe he's also in a relationship and he doesn't want to lie to this person, like he may be wearing a mask right now to try and hide the fact that he did something in the past. Both of these people appear to be wearing a mask as well. It's interesting to note. So I'm thinking that he might want to go out and into the world as a free man almost, without the mask, and then to be able to do everything honestly and openly, I think. So that might be what's pushing them to come forward at some point, or try to hint at something at some point. Wasn't that whole thing the idea that the husband of the cousin might be involved? Wasn't that a recent development? Because I believe that it was quite a long time before that angle even came to the surface, so maybe that was him already trying to set up the dominoes, so to speak, so that things could fall more easily and he could finally take his mask off and move on, with the Two of Wands currently still being in reverse, so he's currently still stuck, seeing perhaps the light through in a relationship with somebody else and wanting to do the right thing because of that, it seems as though. So we're seeing a plot that took place to take him out. No real reference to Zigmund himself. It's more like he was just a pawn that was part of the plot in order to make things better for whomever wanted this to be carried out. And we're seeing that at least one person who was involved with this plot ended up having regrets and is now perhaps in the stages of planning a reveal. And then we might find out who actually did this and whether or not it was aliens. It doesn't look like it was aliens if I look at these cards, quite honestly. I don't see any abduction type stuff here. It's mostly just a bunch of people coming together thinking that they can do whatever they want in order to get what they want. So that is what I'm seeing. Hope you found that interesting. In any case, make sure to leave a comment or a like. That really helps the channel along. If you want to share these videos with people who would like to see them, Would definitely appreciate that as well. If you have any suggestions for people that I should do readings on, make sure to leave them in a comment as well. I'll add them to the list, and then eventually I'll post another poll and we can see who is next. In any case, thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now.